definitely like you guys to kind of elaborate a little bit on what your plan is, because we could sit here and talk about the new issue, but to kick it off with you guys, and before we get into Joe's involvement on the property here, having the legend that is Joe with us, would you guys like to talk about like your hopes for this thing? What you guys have in mind? I know you guys are huge fans too. I'm a little bit of a fan, but I know you guys are huge fans, so please.
Yeah, I think the big hope was to create a story that felt like an amazing crime comic that also featured these iconic characters that we all know and love. That the source material has it all: drama, a great rogues gallery, a compelling hero, a really amazing supporting cast. So it's really trying to shine a new light on this wonderful IP and world by telling a really gritty noir story. So the way Michael and Chantelle and Geraldo and I kind of thought about it is, what if it was done in this LA Confidential style? Like, really like sweep everything off and get to the core of the character and his world and what makes them compelling, and do some nods to the film and some nods to the other media that people might be familiar with, but weave it all together into something that feels new. But I also feel that even if you haven't experienced Dick Tracy before, you can pick up this first issue and understand all the elements of the character.
That's fantastic. What's your do you have a specific era or point of Tracy that you're specifically drawing from, that you're bringing ideas in, or is it just kind of the whole universe as a whole and you're just grabbing from it?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything. I think what we did look to first was what was the raw, almost similar. I jokingly call this Dick Tracy year and a half, like instead of year one, because he is established and he does exist already. So we're not kind of seeing his pure origin story, but we're seeing him in a kind of a proto Tracy setup. So we looked at the earliest Gould strips for just to kind of riff off that energy a bit. But in terms of like cameos and characters, we look at the entire scope of the comic strip, and there's so much stuff there. We would never be able to revisit it all, but it's really neat. I think in the script, to Geraldo will say, "Oh, we found this character. It would be great to weave a cameo in here, just so the hardcore fans realize that we're in this with them." But if you're a casual fan, it doesn't take away from the enjoyment of the book.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a lot of fresh setup, I think, for people who hadn't, you don't necessarily know that True Heart's gonna be Tess's dad, right? If you're not a fan, but if you are, your mind is blown immediately. Joe, have you had a chance to read the new issue to kind of tie words
here? Not really to read it clearly, but to see through it, to flip through, online.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks good. It's not my take, so I have some problems with it. So, and I've been around for my take forever. But it's obvious it's good work. Everybody's working on it is obviously giving it some thought. My real objection is basically taking Tracy as a strip. It's the backgrounds, the world that Tracy is in are almost diagrammatic, and that's the way it always was. And in the new version, it looks like Gotham City. It's expanded, and it kind of throws me. I'm not sure if like seeing backgrounds of several city blocks is really the way to way. I'm looking. I'll see how it goes. I think for people who are not doing my take or Chester Gould's take, not quite Chester Gould's take, it's a good start. I'm looking to see what happens.
That's fantastic. Thanks for that input. It's fun looking back, especially on Gould's original work. Even his original Flat Top story. I should say I'm from Chicago, and I grew up every morning with that newspaper right there. My dad would put it down every morning with the bowl of cereal. and who is right underneath the comics trade dress right there at the top of the paper, but Dick Tracy himself every morning. So I was growing up in Chicago reading it, and I love going back and reading Chet's old stuff because he would draw in the Chicago skyline into the background. You'd kind of know where they are. Geraldo, I honestly love the fact that you're putting in the city, because it does kind of feel like me going back to Chicago and walking around again. And I feel like I'm there, even though we're calling it the city, which is, I think, a nice move to really make it, it could be anywhere. You know, Dick Tracy has his own city that he lives in. And I think it's interesting to see those backgrounds. Like Joe said, it's the dichotomy of the strip meets kind of this new world. That's really kind of a fun thing that we haven't seen before, you know, which is really great. But, you know, Joe, you do such stark inking on your stuff. It's heavy and it brings that noir, and especially for a strip, it really puts it in. This piece here is actually a Joe Staton original that I got in Dallas a couple years ago. Joe did that for me. Thank you so much. I love that hard edge kind of line thing. So that said, Geraldo, do you have an inspiration for what kind of led to your version of Tracy? You know, what kind of brought you to your influences on him?
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, actually, obviously my style is very different from the Joe style. My real influence, artistic influence for this Dick Tracy, I really love crime stories, police stories, and so on. My artistic influences are artists like Eduardo Risso, Sean Phillips, Mike Mignola, artists that works with black and white blocks and no, how can I say, no, I miss the English word, but anyway, I really love to work with blocks with black and white, and artists like these ones, and I say that's my real influence for this Dick Tracy book.
That's awesome, and I love you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
But at the same time, I try to keep the vibe. It's a homage to Chester Go original stories. For example, here is my Bible of Dick Tracy. Is a triple paperback from published in Argentina. Yeah, and I try to keep the original vibe of the original stories, but at the same time try to bring something new for our stories, a little bit gritty, a little bit not realistic, because my style is not realistic. But at the same time, I'm trying to keep the same vibe of Alex and Michael story. So that's my trying to doing the same, but at the same time a real different compared to the original stuff and the movie and so on. Trying to make something new.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead, Alex.
No, I was just going to say Geraldo is very much the secret weapon of the team. I think once he put pen to paper, and we saw his first designs and that first cover, which was, I think, Geraldo, maybe I'm wrong, was one of your first attempts at Tracy, and we were like, this is it. You know, we nailed it. You know, you nailed it. And he just brings this. I would quibble that your art style is very realistic. It just feels very evocative and stylish, and kind of really makes that film noir vibe that we're going for. So, you know, he completed the project in many ways.
That's great. I really like how you point out that you like to work in black and white, which is fantastic. You know, the original strip being in black and white and things like that. The thing when I talk to people about Dick Tracy, obviously owning a comic book store and being my favorite character of all time, people always say, oh, I loved the movie, right? Like you mentioned, you know, that brought up a new generation to the property for sure. The thing that most people I find remember is the coloring on it. You know, is wow, I loved those colors in there too, where the colors have almost become a part of Tracy in its own right. You know, we've got 6 days of black and white a week, and we got one day of color is kind of the way I see it. But we've got it's Mark Englert is doing colors on this book, and
yeah,
Joe, you had
Yeah.
Shane Fisher, right? Doing your colors? Is that correct? Was Shane Fisher was doing colors for the strip, I think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is there, besides the Tribune style guide, we got the Tribune style guide, they send out the colors and things like that. Is there any inspiration for Dick Tracy's color of his universe?
Well, Shane's colors were always more extensive than Gould's, because Gould, if you look at his old stuff, really paid very little attention to the Sundays. There's not a lot of color in his Sundays, and yeah, there's really not much variation on the color there. So Shane is a QB and was trained in comic book coloring, and so he brought a lot of what he had learned there. And I think Shane really likes to draw color explosions, and sometimes we would get something nice for him when Mumbles' band was blown up in the parking lot. He got to really get into that. So I think our coloring is probably not authentic, but Shane really gets into it. So you can do more with the coloring now.
Yeah, that's great. Alex, what do you think? Or
Yeah,
Chantelle, consultant on this.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Alex, please go. Yeah.
No, I mean, what Mark does that is really fascinating is he blends the kind of crime, gritty vibe that you would expect coming into a comic like this, but he really does do nods to the film and the kind of pop art vibe of the movie, and also some of the comic strips. So he blends it really well. So I think it's really welcoming to all fans that are coming to Tracy or to the comic book from different threads of the IP. So yeah, I think Mark is also really amazing. And Jim Campbell, the letterer, shouldn't be discounted. Sorry, there's like construction going on nearby.
We can't hear it. You're fine.
Well, and I think that that's one of the best parts about Alex and Michael and Geraldo, is that they're all bringing such fandom to this series that there is something, like Alex just said, there is something for every generation of fans. Like, hopefully, once Joe really dives into it, he'll love it too, I hope. But, there are definitely homages to every step of Dick Tracy along the way, but with a twist that I think, like Alex and Michael, could really only bring to it themselves. But it's really nice because I think that sometimes a reboot doesn't necessarily take into consideration everything that came before, but Alex and Michael particularly, and Geraldo in his art are just really wanted to make that homage as well as doing something different, and we're very respectful, I feel, to everything that came before, and I really think it shows.
Absolutely, it sure does. In the same way that Mike and Joe's run wasn't necessarily Chet's run on it, but at the same time, right? It was its own thing, but kept the spirit in a lot of ways of the property, I think. That's
crossover.
Yeah. Right, and that's right, the spirit. And you guys worked on that. Speaking of crossovers, we had that great run from you guys where you brought back Boris Karloff's character of Gruesome, which so
with the permission of his daughter.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Is there a plan for Gruesome to come into the comics at some point now? Then with a new series, that would be fun.
Yeah, you never know.
Right, you never know. Are you planning on focusing? I mean, obviously we've got a couple of villains coming in here. It is, so maybe Big Boy is going to be the big bad. Are there plans here, or am I spoiling too much?
I would say that the last page of issue 1 gives you a sense of who the big bad's going to be, if you can figure out who that is. But we also didn't want. I think the charm of the movie is that you see all the rogues all at once, and it's kind of this wonderful, overwhelming feeling. But we have a little runway, so we're going to start peppering the first arc with some of the key rogues like Flat Top and Prune Face and Mumbles and Big Boy, and also a lot of fun deep cuts. But if it's in the top 10 Dick Tracy villains, you'll probably see them in the first year.
Wonderful. It's also really fun that you guys did work them in. We got Mumbles in there and we had a little flat top cameo, and there are a few more. And it's already, I think, by the end of issue 1, you guys have done it better than the movie did, because they were all kind of just sitting around the table in the movie, you know, and they didn't really go
I remember it. Yeah, I remember as a kid watching that first chunk of the movie, and you're like, wow, they're eliminating all these amazing characters so quickly. I mean, it just felt like, I mean, I love the movie. I say this as someone who loves the movie, but we definitely want to give each character their moment and not just rack up a body count because we can.
Yeah. Yeah. That said, while we've got Joe here, Joe, I wanted to ask you, you worked with Max Allan Collins on Mike Danger, right? I don't know if did he have any involvement when Mike Curtis took over on the strip? Or did you go back and talk to any of those alumni to the series?
Oh, well, Dick Loker was doing the strip by the time I came to it. Mike and I did, and I went up to Dick Loker's house and Naperville, and which you'll know, it's a great place, and I spent some good time with him, and we hit it off, and seemed like we had his blessing. Of course, I know Max for years, and we were always planning that we would do a run on Tracy, but he had moved on by the time that Mike Curtis came to take it over, and I was kind of in the package with Mike, and we were heading out from then. Actually, we still have me doing a drop in and do a fill in with Max Collins before Tracy's 100th birthday. So I'm not sure when we're planning on doing it, but it's up there. Yeah.
You said you guys
That's
are all
exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
I have one quick Max Allan Collins story, who I know and Chantelle knows from our mystery novel world. But I got introduced to him in San Diego Comic-Con years ago, 2009 or 2010. And the first thing I blurted out is, I love your Dick Tracy novelization, which kind of took him back, because he's obviously got a CV of 20, 30 acclaimed novels and comics and Road to Perdition and all these amazing things. But the one thing that was so major to me was that novelization, because I read it right after I saw the movie just to immerse myself further into the world. But yeah, his run on Tracy is legendary as well.
Oh, I'd like to make one note on Max Collins, that with the novelization, he settled the question of Tracy's nose. Tracy has the spectacular nose, and people have to wonder who is the actor with that nose. But the thing is that it turns out the nose is done by the editorial artist at the newspaper in Tracy Town in the novelization. And he says, oh, that's not a real nose, that's a characterization of Tracy's nose. So there is room for variations on Tracy's nose. It grows, it comes back. So yeah, but it's out there.
That's a great point, Geraldo. Do you focus on Tracy's nose while you're drawing the schnoz on there?
Yes, not so pointed like Chester Good nose, but I'm trying to. I think the real challenge for me drawing Dick Tracy is the readers could recognize the characters from Chester Good, but at the same time doing working on them in my style. So it's a real challenge, because I think the ultimate goal for our book is a book for every single reader, for hardcore fans. People could recognize the villains, Dick Tracy, Tess, and so on. But at the same time, the new reader, the people who don't know who is Dick Tracy, there is they have a chance to work on to read the book for the first time and enjoy it. So drawing the adaptation of nose, the original nose for my nose for Dick Tracy is a real deal.
That's great. Another thing, while I've got the new team here and the old team, you guys have now all both worked with the Tribune Company to some degree. I was talking with Anna. Anna and I were just at Comics Pro in Pittsburgh back in February, and we were talking about the acquisition of the rights of this property. So, Alex, you got it yourself? I half understand the story. Do you have a story about the acquisition of how this book came to be?
I do, and it's a long and winding road, so I'll give you the cliff notes. Forever ago, when I was at Archie, we reached out to Tribune to get the rights to do a Dick Tracy comic, and we got them, or we thought we got them, and I reached out to Michael because I knew he was a fan, and so we jammed on the initial plot, and we started producing the issue, we announced it, but then we realized that there was a rights mix-up, and so we ended up not having the rights at Archie, and we thought that was the end of it, but years later, Michael and I were brainstorming about ways to keep our story going, and we connected with Chantelle, and we decided let's just reach out to Tribune ourselves and kind of show them the plan, show them the pitch, let them know who we are, that we're not some fly-by-night like fans. Not to minimize fandom, but we're not just random people that want to create this thing, and so they gave us the rights, the publishing rights, assuming we would partner with a publisher that wanted to make it happen. And so we reached out to Mad Cave, and they were all for it. And then Geraldo and Mark and Jim and our amazing editor Chaz and the whole team at Mad Cave really let us cut loose. And that was, so when I said at the beginning of this interview, it's been a long time coming. It really has been over 7 years of wanting to actualize this. So I almost didn't believe it yesterday when the book came out, but it has. So.
And I'll say that there should, hopefully all of this goes well, and we'll be doing this for many years. And if that's the case, then someday they might put a plaque at the Newark airport, at the Mexican cantina in the one terminal where Alex and I were chatting via text about this when he discovered that the first deal didn't quite work out and what we could do. And so it has been a long time coming, and so hopefully someday plaque in the Newark airport where the new Dick Tracy was almost born many years ago.
Oh, I'd like to put in a note here. There was always trouble with the syndicate. Ramona Fraden always told me that no matter what, the syndicate will screw you. But those of us on the strip were a little bit put out by the current version. The man in yellow is black, is yellow. The man in yellow is back. We didn't know he was gone on the strip, and we thought it would have been nice if the syndicate had required some plug for the daily strip for Go Comics running Tracy. I'm not, you never know what happens with the syndicate, but a little cross-fertilization of different versions of the character would have been good for all of us. Maybe, might happen sometime, maybe.
Yeah, I think it will. Yeah, I don't think it's too late for that. I mean, obviously, we're hugely influenced by what happens in the strip. And Joe, I think we mentioned you early on as a big influence on what we were doing. So I think that's definitely in the works, some kind of nod to the strip and back and forth. Because, yeah, like you said, Dick Tracy never left. And it's really the beginning of a new iteration, but that doesn't preclude what's come before.
Absolutely. Yeah, that said, does the syndicate have a hands on what you guys are releasing with Mad Cave? Are they looking at it? Because I know even just to get our cover, we had to go through syndicate approvals.
They do.
Yeah, they sign off on everything. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's basically what I was going to say. Yeah, we try to work with everybody on that, and so far our experience with Tribune has been good. Like they're giving us strong creative control, which we really appreciate. And I know that Alex and I have had discussions about reaching out, like Joe was saying, to the strip to see, how we can partner better, because our goal is not, yes, we're trying to do a new iteration, but like I said earlier, like our goal is to make it as much an homage to what came before as a new thing. And incorporating what's going on in the strip would, just play a part in that. We want it to be a cohesive whole, and not like this is a very different thing that we're trying and we're over here and that's over there. That's not our goal.
I'm glad to hear that.
Me too, as a fan of the strip who's been reading it, since probably 1988. I absolutely love and adore the strip. And if there is a way to bring readers to Go Comics, because that's where we're kind of the only place these days, unless you do subscribe to the Chicago Tribune or something like that, New York Times. That's kind of the only place where younger readers can get into it. And again, owning a comic shop, the strips aren't printed into some sort of a trade paperback volume. Joe, I have your gruesome that you actually gave me the copy, the hard copy, when you and Mike put the single comic out. But do you have plans, Joe, for collecting those? Is there a plan in the works for collecting?
There is a plan for a collection of there are going to be collections of the NCS character members and their strips, high points, and there's in the works a collection of all the stories that we did where Tracy crossed over with Little Orphan Annie. And Little Orphan Annie was kidnapped by pirates, and then her strip was canceled. So Tracy obviously thought he should go and save her, and so he did, and we did a fairly long continuity on that. And then after that, Annie became a supporting character in the Dick Tracy strip. And Annie is like girlfriends with Honeymoon, who's a teenage alien character. And we just, well, not me, but Mike gave Little Orphan Annie her original birthday with Daddy Warbucks. So that's all being collected. I think the name of the company is Clover Press. It's not IDW this time, but that's in the works, and we have hopes for that one. Yeah.
I love hearing that. I have so many customers who ask me on a day-to-day basis. I should say we have this hanging up in the store. This is a 1935 page from the Chicago Tribune of the Sundays of Dick Tracy here. And so we've got it up and with a museum thing next to it. We always like to tell all the kids that this piece of paper is 3 years older than Superman himself. And they get a kick out of that. But that said, they always say, hey, is there a way I would really like to get into Dick Tracy? Can you give me a trade paperback? I'll buy it today. And what do we got?
Not out there yet. So.
No. And especially your run with Mike writing on it, I really think that it's kid appropriate, that you could give it to a 10-year-old and they would enjoy it, if they read it with their parent or something like that. It's printed in the newspaper. It's all ages, right? So it'd be really great.
Yeah.
That said, you mentioned Honeymoon, which brings us to Moon Maid and Junior and things like that. The 60s space era of Dick Tracy is fascinating in all of its own ways. Alex, any plans, any space era? Eventually?
We have we've talked about it. Obviously, it's a key part of the mythos, but we definitely want to lay the groundwork for Tracy's world and the Rogues and his supporting cast out of the gate. And then I think once we do that, maybe a year into it, we can start playing the riffs of different iterations of Tracy. But it's not something that's far from our minds.
Awesome. I really like speaking of the film, I think the one thing that the film really hit on the head was Junior stealing the watch and bringing it back, and that it really kind of reflects, it's like almost the most, it feels like the most comic accurate part of the movie. I assume you have a plan to introduce Junior at some point, maybe.
We do. All the key major players, we have like a loose idea, but we definitely want to spend some time just laying the foundation, because the hope is that we'll be here for a while and we'll be able to really give each of these moments and characters their due. So we don't want to just scramble and get everything into the first 5 issues, because the market is what it is. We want it to feel organic, and I don't mean to use all these buzzwords, but we want to take a minute so everything feels a little more slow rolled instead of rushed into.
And I think that'd be better for new fans coming to the property also, who are checking out Dick Tracy for the first time. Why throw the space age onto him right at the beginning, right? You have to establish your groundwork first. But I think,
yeah, you don't want to overwhelm them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. This issue 1, though, definitely sets up, you could have any number of issues come out of this. You could have 100 issues come out of this. I've been kind of relating it to Scott Snyder's New 52 Batman run, right? It's got kind of that darkness and that grittiness that wasn't quite Batman. This isn't your Neil Adams Batman here. It's something different, and I really feel like this could be that. But how long did that run go on for? The New 52 Batman ran for quite a long time. I think if it's just getting really the support behind the book, which is on all of us, especially retailers, to really hand sell this and to get it into people's hands and say, hey, give it a try, bring back Dick Tracy. But like Joe said, I also would like it. I don't know if it's something in editorial or something with Mad Cave, if you're allowed to do it, but to have an ad for Go Comics, I don't know if Go Comics is able to connect so that people can say, hey, would you like more Tracy? Here's a place, and you could read it every day for free on Go Comics, something like that too.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
I don't know if that
we have talked about doing stuff like that. It's a little bit not completely within our hands to do it, but it's something that we have surfaced and hopefully can do as time goes on. Like I said, we really want this to be cohesive, and if we don't say it enough during this chat that we're having, thank you, you specifically, Matt, and all the retailers who are helping us with this, because we would really like this to stick around. Like we have long-term plans, and we want to make it good. We don't want to just do it because we're fans and get it out there and we played with everybody and then they can go back in their box. We want this to be something that really brings a whole new generation to Dick Tracy, and that they want to explore the daily comics and the past comics and the movie and everything else. We want it all to, be a cohesive whole. But thank you, because a lot of that work is in your hands once it's out of ours. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I just want to echo that. I mean, there would be nothing without the hand selling you guys do at the store level, just pitching stuff and we, sifting through previews to find the stuff that really shines and letting the readers know why something is special. So we thank you to, your store, but also all the retailers that are doing the work.
Absolutely. We have to preach the good word of our favorite superhero, as it were, Crime Stopper.
Crime Stopper. Yes.
Yeah. Our favorite super powered, possibly Crime Stopper. Bullets fly right off him. Don't worry about it. We really do love it, and it is, I think you're right, we do need to get the word out there about Tracy, because most people, even yesterday when they said, oh, there's a new Dick Tracy book out, we told everybody yesterday, happy Dick Tracy Day, who came in. And Dick Tracy, why Dick Tracy Day? We're like, well, he's finally got a comic back. And then you get all kinds of mixed reactions, right? Oh, I read that when I was a kid. Oh, my dad used to read that strip. Oh, I saw the movie, or I had those action figures. Everybody kind of has a memory. So I'm really excited that there is this new book, because one hand washes the other. It's going to bring people to the property either way, whether you're on the strip side or you're on the new comic. It's really exciting just having Tracy out there. Again, that's not just in the comics anymore. I tried to subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times here. I think it's the Tampa Bay Times. Tracy, I don't think, is printed in it. So I can't even get those newspapers. And I just wanted a subscription down here in Florida. But it's not national syndication the way it used to be.
The villages. Are you aware of the villages? The very old people's retirement places. And in Florida, their paper actually carries Tracy. So check out
Get a subscription.
check out the Villages.
Thank you so much for that. Chantelle, did you have something to say? I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, it's okay. I was done. And sorry, you cut out when you asked me. So I had no idea you were talking to me. But nope, I'm good.
Well, while we're talking about retailers and things like that, we did an exclusive variant, and we put Tracy in front of our shop, which is kind of fun.
What?
Yeah, we said, well, if we're going to do a store exclusive, we might as well make it an evergreen kind of a thing that people can pick up as a souvenir. And who wouldn't like to see Dick Tracy make a cameo at their comic book store, sign some autographs, as it were. This is great. Thanks for joining me. Before we jump off this call, I know we're just over a half hour here. I want to have a really quick lightning round for you guys. This or that kind of a session, if that's okay. Let's start with Geraldo, and we'll go across the screen here. Pat Patton or Sam Ketchum? Joe, you could start if you like.
Well, definitely Sam Ketchum. Yeah, because he carries, like salami in his pocket, so he's good.
Alex, how about you, being a fan?
Pat Patton for very reasons that will become very obvious to readers.
Love to hear that. Chantelle, you said you're a big fan too.
I am, and I mean it's a toss-up. I might lean just about 5% more in Joe's camp on this one, but it's tough. So I'm going to be Switzerland.
Geraldo, do you know the difference? Do you know the two of them? Pat Ketchum, the better sidekick, as it were.
I really love Pat because one of the things I talked to Alex about Dick Tracy. I really like movies like, for example, how can I say in English? Lethal Weapon, for example. You have two different guys with different humors and so on. And the dynamic between Dick Tracy and Pat for me is very cool. So I really love this character.
That's fantastic. Let's go. We're going to start with Joe again here. Who is your favorite villain? Not necessarily to work on, but to read.
Actually, my favorite villain was Mumbles was one of my favorites. That whole like late 50s, early 60s is kind of when I became aware of it. I guess Mumbles and would probably be my favorite.
Alex?
It's probably a tie between Pruneface and the Blank, just visually like really arresting designs. And obviously you have the movie memories, but those are the characters that always jump out at me when I think of, classic Dick Tracy rogues.
Absolutely. Chantelle?
I'm kind of going to go with a little bit. Well, of course, I love them all. I've always been the little kid who liked the villains more than the heroes. But I think I might have to go with Zora Arson. Because I mean, not only just deep cut, but one of the relatively rare female villains. And also, I mean, who doesn't want to like use that as their alias, Zora Arson, when you check into a hotel or something? Like that's just
Well, that's half the fun of the Rogues Gallery is their great names, right?
right.
If you're going for your favorite female villain, I mean, there's definitely Breathless. We did a
Yes.
sequence of Breathless, and it was Madonna in the movie, right?
Mhm.
So Breathless is definitely up there.
Geraldo, who's your favorite Rogues Gallery?
Finally, Flat Top. Flat Top for me, yes. It's a villain that I'm really working hard for our book. So at this moment, Flat Top is my favorite one.
Flat Top really seems to be the Joker, as it were, of the Dick Tracy series, right? He keeps coming back. He's kind of the one that
Yes.
everybody. It's
Yeah, he's more like the in our book. It's more if you're using the Frank Miller Daredevil comparison, he's more like the Bullseye. But yeah, he said the way Geraldo draws him, it's just chilling, really great.
Yeah, and the strip, we had one rule. I mean, we kept on bringing old characters back and putting in new ones, but we had the rule that Flat Top was dead. We were not bringing Flat Top back. However, he did have a large family. There was Blow Top, and now there's Crew Top, and there's I think Mrs. Flat Top Jr. I mean, I think there's about 10, at least 10 villains in the Top family.
Has Tracy ever raided a Flat Top family reunion or something and got them all at once?
That would have been a great idea. We should have done that. Yeah.
Just to kind of poke fun at the fact that there are so many different incarnations.
Mike may still do that, you know. It sounds like something he'd do.
Because Mike has a lot of fun with the strip. I've appreciated that ever since you guys started with 2011-ish when you guys
2011, yeah.
It had such a fun to it, you know. It left kind of the seriousness and brought this real fun. And then all of a sudden Annie was there within a couple of years, and it was great.
And she's still there.
And she's still there. That said, Joe, you have talked to me before about the Dick Tracy Parade in Woodstock, Illinois. And I know they closed down the Dick Tracy Museum there, but Dick Tracy Way still exists, and there's still the Dick Tracy Kids Park, which if you guys haven't been to the Dick Tracy Kids Park, it's definitely a pilgrimage I think everybody should take. Is there any plans? Is there a way for this crew to get together again and form a Dick Tracy celebration of some kind to bring that back?
That would be great.
Tell me where to go.
Right.
Exactly. We'll be there.
Tell us when to be there. When I made my pilgrimage to Dick Loker's house, and we spent time up in that area, we went around and found Dick Tracy Way, and there's that great statue that Dick Loker designed for Naperville, and I have my picture with that, and still there, and there's still enough Tracy memorabilia in the area to get something public, something going. So we'll have to keep that in mind.
Well, now that we have a meeting of the minds here, maybe we're able to get a TracyCon 2025 or 2026 going, especially if the comic does well and we can bring some new folks to the property and the fandom. That would be absolutely fantastic. Funny story, when I got married, I got married in Elburn, Illinois, and my wife went out with my cousin for the bachelorette party, as it were. And she sent me a text message, and it may be a little bit explicit for the stream, but she said, "We're going to find Dick. Going to find some Dick tonight." And I said, "What is that?" Okay, whatever you're doing, it's a bachelorette party. And then, of course, pictures of all of them around the Dick Tracy statue in Naperville, and they said, "Hey, we found him," and it was kind of adorable. So,
you know the statue.
Yes, absolutely. That he's about 10 feet tall, and I love that pose that they got him. Yeah, do you know who designed that, or is it just based on?
No, Dick Loker designed it personally.
Yeah, personally.
Yeah, he did all stuff like that for the city, and when we saw him, I don't know how it worked out, but there was one of the original, I think, French explorers of the area. He was working on a statue of him. So yeah, it was one of his skills. He designed the Tracy statue, and it looks like he did.
Yeah, he definitely has the Dick Loker note.
And
yeah, right.
Right.
Which it sounds like Dick needs to design a bronze statue for the airport where Alex and Chantelle had those text messages, except it's maybe an Apple Watch instead.
That would be great.
That's
Let us know what you need to make it happen.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Do you guys have anything else you'd all like to talk about? Is there anything you guys have questions for each other?
Yes, I'd like to add anything. I'm trying the group last year, but Alex, Chantelle, and Michael are running it a long time ago, since a long time ago. So there's a lot of passion, a lot of love for the character. I feel it working with them, working on the book. So what I can say to the reader for this new Dick Tracy book is you can get a chance to read the book. You can read the new adventures of Dick Tracy with a lot of homage to the original stuff, but try to get a new flavor. And all of people from Matt Cave, Alex, Chantelle, Michael are putting all of love for the character, for the book. So I invite everyone to read this new Dick Tracy book. And this is just the beginning, because number 2 is you can expect what we did in number 2.
Alex,
Yeah,
and-
I just want
Go
to
ahead,
echo what.
Alex.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to echo what Geraldo said. We're so grateful to the readers and the retailers and the reviewers and press who've shown so much support. And it's really like huge thanks to Chantelle and Michael for being on this ride for so long, and Mad Cave and Geraldo for bringing this world to life, and Mark and Jim and the entire team. It's really a special project, and something that I never thought would actually happen. Like, not to be a downer about it, but I really had to hold it in my hands yesterday to understand that it had come to fruition. So it's been a long journey. I'm grateful that we're here, and we've got a lot of story to tell.
And I will echo all of that too, and say thank you to Alex and Michael for letting me nose, and I use that pun intentionally, into this fabulous passion project of theirs and make it one of mine too. And I want to again echo my thanks to you, Matt, and all retailers who are, making sure that we can continue on the journey. And also, I just have to say that it has been an honor to be on this call with Joe. And I want to thank him and all of the people who represent Dick Tracy, who are not on the call, but have made it such a, icon. Thank you for letting us play in your playground.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Joe. Great to be here.
It really is cool to see this the new and upcoming. It feels like the freshmen coming into the property and having the instructor on the call too. It's fantastic to get you guys together. Thank you so much for your time. If you don't have anything else to add, I'd really appreciate everybody being here. And Joe,
I love your custom.
Thank you so much.
That's great.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Great rest of your day, and good luck with the new series. And if you guys haven't gone to the Go Comics, anyone who's watching this, please go on gocomics.com/Dick Tracy and catch up. There's a calendar there. You can actually click through all the past ones. It's totally free comics for everybody. Read more comics, everyone.
And they have like years to go back to. You could go back to Dick Gloker's era and then work your way, forward into ours. So it's there. Check out Go Comics. /Dick Tracy.
/Dick Tracy. And you can read Calvin and Hobbes and Peanuts and all your other favorites, and you can add them all and have a profile. It's a very nice platform. So this is very cool having the new thing. We got Comic Book World, we've got the Strip World, and a lot of new Dick Tracy coming up. And I guess we'll see you guys at Dick Tracy Con in 2026.
See you there.
See you there.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.